I don't know if you can really see it. I have 2 scratches on my face because last night I was just sleeping soundly, you know, not doing anything else than sleeping. And then all of a sudden my cat, my kitten, just jumps on my face and just scratches it. It was quite the rude awakening, and now I've got 2 large scratch marks on my face, but I think you can't see it from far away, so I think we're all good. Anyway, we're not here to talk about my face. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kira and it's the best time of the month. It's time for some completed pages videos. I was worried at the beginning of the month that I wouldn't get as much coloring done as I usually do, just because I had some work come up at the very end of the month. I was doing 6 days a week, 12-hour days, but I still managed to color 8 pages this month, which is pretty much my standard anyway. Did I sleep much at the end of the month? No, but we got coloring done, so I'm happy about that. All right, so yes, I did 8 pages this month. And I colored in, let me just sort my life out. How many books did I color in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8 pages, 5 books. Pretty good. So I did 3 pages in Small Victories, 1 page in Rita Berman's Asia book, 2 pages in Rooms of Wonder by Johanna Basford, 1 page in How to Draw Inky Wonderlands by Johanna Basford, and then also 1 page in Adorable Town by Lainie. This month was definitely full of some wins and also some learning curves. I bought my first larger set of watercolor pencils, I think maybe at the end of May, and then I started using it in June, so a lot of my pages are based with watercolor pencils. I also experimented a little bit more with chalk pastels. Not really happy with the results for those pages. You'll see them shortly. I also stepped out of my comfort zone a little bit and started adding my own details to some coloring pages. And I also found myself hating Amazon paper just a little bit less. Just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to talk about each coloring page in depth now. Go to my overhead camera setup, and then we're gonna come back here and actually rank my pages from favorite to least favorite for the month. I don't know if this is a good idea for my mental health, but I thought I might try it for this month and see if my favorite pages are the same as your favorites. Don't know if I'll end up keep doing this, but anyway, you go check out the coloring pages and I'm gonna sort these out from favorite to least favorite. All right, so this is the very first page that I colored in June, and this is quite different for me. A lot more of a muted color palette. I wanted to challenge myself, I suppose. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think because I just gravitate, like personal preference wise, to bright colors. You know, I think it's nice, but I'm just like, it doesn't wow me and it doesn't make my heart sing. But it is sometimes nice just to, you know, play with a different color palette and push myself outside of my comfort zone. This was before I got into the watercolor basing that I very much did a lot of this month. So this is all just done with my Brutfuner pencils. You'll also see I have some white acrylic paint pen. And then this was another trial of trying to use my chalk pastels. I'm not really happy with how it turned out. I just feel like it looks dirty. I spoke about it in the video before this one, how I kind of like want to give up on making chalk pastels look good, but people told me to keep trying and keep experimenting. I tried to look this up and I couldn't really find any definitive answers. So if anyone else out there knows, is there a major difference between chalk pastels, which are the ones I have that come in a pan, and soft pastels, which come in like the stick? I need to know if there's a difference and if soft pastels are a lot easier. Because if that's the case, then I'm gonna go get myself some soft pastels, because I can see some really great backgrounds done with soft pastels, but I just can't achieve that nice blend with what products I have at the moment. But yeah, I think I'm fairly happy with how this page turned out. Just I can't get over the smudgy pastel in the background. The second page I did in Rooms of Wonder this month is this potions cabinet page here, and I am so happy with how this one turned out. This one was inspired by, I'm not sure how to say their Instagram name, so I'll put it on the screen. This was based with my Born watercolor pencils, but this one was definitely a labor of love. It took me so long to do this one. Most Most of the time a page will take me 3 to 5 days. I think this one took me around 7 days, and that was me really pushing myself, really like trying to get as much coloring done as possible. But as I said, I'm so happy with how it turned out. Every second that I was coloring this page, I was just thinking either of Wicked the musical or Shrek. That's just what this green reminded me of. Yet again, I used all of the same sort of, supplies that I generally use. So yes, did the basing with the Born watercolor pencils, went over it with my Brutfuners, used the white acrylic paint pen on a lot of the potion bottles, and then my classic gold glitter gel pen as well. This was one fail that happened. My yellow acrylic paint pen is absolutely, insert curse word here, especially in this one here. It just was not getting opaque. I went over the top of it again with the glitter gel pen, and that kind of fixed it a bit, but it was just looking not that great. So I don't think I'll be using that one again from that brand. And then also I went in with my black acrylic paint pen just in the center here. I did have the thought of creating sort of like a galaxy in the middle here, but by the end of this page I was like, you know what, I'm done. I can't add any more details. And I think this gap in between here is just like way too small to achieve that. So I'm still happy with just, sort of the black center there. I kind of like that it's like black and dark and you're like, ooh, what's behind those doors? I'm not really sure. So I only did one page in Rita Berman's Asia book this month. This was another attempt at me using my chalk pastels, and still not a massive fan of how it turned out. I just, like, it doesn't look bad, but I just want a smoother blend, if that makes any sense. I also know the chalk pastels that I have are quite old. They're from my mum's collection. I also tried to add some metallic watercolor paint onto this page, and that just made it look dirty as well. It was like the clear watercolor paint, and I think that was my mistake. It just looked like little dirty stains on the page, so I went over it with my white acrylic paint pen, and that seemed to kind of fix it. I don't know if you can see it at all. All those issues aside, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I also basted this one with my Born watercolors, and then went over the top with my Brutfuners. I don't know if basing necessarily shortens coloring time, but I think it really does help plan out, where I want to put the colors on the page. And it also helps me not, get such sore hands because I'm not having to color every single white part on the page because it's already filled in with the watercolor. There's nothing different on this page than my usual coloring supplies, Brutfuners, gold glitter gel pen. If I were to say what my favorite part of this page is, I'm actually really happy with how these stones turned out. I tried to utilize Rita Berman's, she always adds so many colors to her page, and in spots that you wouldn't necessarily think are like multicolored. So I tried to do that with the stones down here, and I think that turned out really well and just helped sort of tie in all the other colors that were on the page. I always love coloring Rita Berman clouds. I love doing them a multitude of colors. It just makes, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of fun to me. So yeah, that's the one page I colored this month from Rita Berman's Asia book. Alright, we all know this is one of my absolute favorite books to color in. I always do several pages a month. I did 3 this month. June was the month that I did buy the Born watercolor set, and I really wanted to color this page just with watercolors to see how it would turn out, and I hated the result. It just looked really, I don't know, messy to me, and some people do that like messy watercolor look, and I think it looks so good. But when I do it, I don't know, just it didn't sit well with me. It just, my brain did not like it. So I did all the watercolor, and then I went over top with my Brutfuner pencils, and I tried to go with that sort of like 70s or 60s retro flower power kind of color scheme. You know how they had those kind of the browns and the greens and the yellows, and I think my brain just doesn't necessarily like those colors together. I did a lot of glitter gel pen on this page. I think you can pick that up fairly well around the outside here. I pretty much did it wherever there was a thin outline around the flowers. Also just did a tiny bit of white acrylic paint pen on any of the extra details that Johanna drew in. And I think what mainly is the issue with this one is the background. I think the background, I don't know, it just doesn't complement with the flower colors. I think maybe if I'd chosen a different background color, maybe a blue or something, maybe it would sit a little bit better in my mind. I actually did think about doing black, but I was like, oh no, that'll be too too dark. I feel like this is actually a bit of a fail, not necessarily the way I colored it in, just mainly with the color palette. I'm not a massive fan of it, but I feel like a lot of people might enjoy this color palette. So let me know what you think. Do you like this page? The second page I did in this book this month, I love how this page turned out. In fact, the more that I looked at it over time, I think the more that I've just fallen in love with it. I think I was verging towards like a coloring slump. And so I said to myself, you know what, Kira, let's just have some fun on a page. Let's just chuck as much color onto a page. We know how much I love color and not worry too much about the end result. And I think almost having that mindset helps me create a better page in a way, like not caring as much. This, yet again, I based with my Born watercolors, helped me figure out where I wanted each color to sit on the page. And I've also spoken about how I want to push myself to start adding extra elements to a page. And so, because I love coloring clouds so much, especially in Rita Berman's books, I thought, you know what, Kira, let's push yourself and do it on this page. And so I added these little clouds in, and what I did was actually go onto Pinterest and look up just like Rita Berman pages, look up some of her clouds, see how she drew them, and then try to sort of emulate that a little bit on this page. Yet again, got some glitter gel pen on this page, have some black acrylic paint pen, white acrylic paint pen. But yeah, maybe I just need to adopt the mindset of not caring as much more on my coloring pages because I think they always turn out better. And then the third and final page I colored in Small Victories this month was this one here. You would be familiar with this page if you saw my How to Color in Small Victories video. I did somewhat of like a tutorial / color along for this little mushroom here. And then I just kind of followed the same process and color palette for the rest of the little vignettes, I suppose you could call them, the little small victories. And I really do love this color palette. You'll see how I chose this color palette in that video. It's so interesting to see my like more recent coloring pages next to my older ones. Like you can just see the difference of how much I've improved, which is really cool to see. I really went ham with acrylic paint pen and white gel pen on this page. And I don't think I went too overboard. I think sometimes I can get into the trap of going a little bit overboard with my white paint pen, but I think it works for these little vignettes here. All right, my first ever page colored in How to Draw Inky Wonderlands, and I'm also so upset because I somehow got a colored pencil mark on the cover. I tried to rub it out and I think I just made it even worse, so I think I'm gonna have to do something to the cover of this because this is really bugging me. But ironically, it sort of looks like the pencil is coming from the pen here, which is kind of funny. Maybe I can work it in somehow. But anyway, this book was a lot more daunting than I anticipated. I was like, yeah, I'll just like add my own elements. That'll be easy. Yeah, it's not as easy as I thought. But I did it. I'm proud of myself. I was very courageous. And this is the page here. So there was nothing in the center here, and there was a lot of details like not included on the leaves. So I added this lantern. Actually, the butterfly was already there. That was there. And I also added these leaves here, the two bluey green ones, added the stars, and I'm fairly happy with how this turned out considering it was like my first trial at adding in my own elements to a page, like fully, besides the clouds and the Small Victories one this month. I tried to replicate this lantern here for the center, and I feel like it turned out pretty well. Yet again, I don't think it's going to be like necessarily a favorite page of mine at the end of the year, but I'm not unhappy with it either, you know? A particular element of the page I'm really proud of is the little acorn here. I don't know, I just feel like the acorn looks so cute. I'm really happy with how I shaded it. I only did watercolor basing for the background for this page. So the center, the circular element here, and then the background here. The rest I just colored with my Brutfuner pencils. I was gonna try and get like a little bit experimental with this lantern here, and I was like, oh, I could do a cool light source and have the surrounding leaves sort of, I don't know, bathed in the light. But then after doing the drawing in the center, rubbing it out, drawing it again several times, by the time I actually got to coloring, I was just like mentally too exhausted. So I didn't want to have to think too much about lighting and shading. So just had some fun with color once I figured out the center there. And what I spoke about when I initially first got this book was being worried about when adding extra elements with a pen that it might stand out too much. But I feel like you can hardly tell what elements I added in. Let me go get the pen that I used, just in case if you want to use it in your own coloring books. Okay, so I have this set of Unipin pens, I suppose they're called. They're just black ink, and I used the thinnest one, which is the 0.1 millimeter, and I feel like that really matched the lines that were already on Johanna's page. These I just got from Officeworks here in Australia, but I reckon the Sakura Micron pens would be very similar as well to these. So if you're not in Australia, I would look at the Sakura ones because I think these, you know, are pretty much the same thing. And something else I really pushed myself to do with this page was use as much glitter gel pen as possible. I feel like I had this limiting belief in my head that using glitter gel pen was cheating, but it's so not. I don't know where I got that belief from. So I really went ham with the glitter gel pen. I've done it on the leaves, I've done it on the key, I've done it on the border, the butterflies, the center here, the center of these leaves. You can't really see it with my lighting setup. One day I'll figure it out. You know, on all the droplets here, and I think it looks great. So past Kira, using glitter gel pen is not cheating. All right, so this was actually the last page I colored in this month. I managed to squeeze it in just by the end of June, and I actually wanted to try to recreate this image here, or not recreate it, but like I took this as my inspiration. And we all know I've spoken very negatively about Amazon paper in the past, but when I was coloring this page, in my head I already set myself up the expectation that I'm not going to get a smooth blend with my pencils just because of the paper. And because I set that expectation up in my head, I actually really enjoyed coloring. So I don't know, I think it's just, you know, not having too high expectations of how your supplies are going to look on Amazon paper. So this one was based with alcohol markers. I stole my mum's pastel set for this one. And I think this page is just really cute and fun. You can kind of see similar vibes, not completely, but I just find all the images in this book to be just really cute. So yeah, used Ohuhu pastel alcohol markers to base, went over the top with Brutfuners, and then did some details with my white acrylic paint pens. This page really set into motion though for me that I need to get some different colored acrylic paint pens, predominantly like light colored ones, because I feel like these elements here on the milk bottle would have looked better if I'd used like say like a light blue here and a light pink here rather than white, because I feel like it kind of gets lost in the image. It doesn't look bad, but I just feel like it would look better, you know? And I really tried to do like a contrast here where the milk bottle is really fun and whimsical, and then using sort of a more realistic color palette at the bottom, so you have that sort of contrast, like this was always here, this building was always here, and then someone's just plopped a massive milk bottle on top of it. So now that I've set that expectation for myself that my pencils just aren't going to blend as nicely on this paper than other pages, I feel like I'll enjoy coloring in Amazon books more now. I've also heard that if you use a harder lead pencil, it works better on these pages as well. If any of you out there enjoy coloring on Amazon pages, what kind of pencil do you use? What brand do you use? Someone recently commented that they use Crayola on their Amazon pages, so maybe I'll have to try that out. I'm not going to get polychromos just to color on Amazon paper, so yeah, what's a budget-friendly option for a harder lead coloring pencil, I suppose. But yeah, that was my 8th and final page of June. All right, so you've seen all the pages now. I've ranked them from favorite to least favorite. Let's start at the bottom. I think my least favorite page this month, which is no surprise with how I talked about it, was the flowers page from Small Victories. Not a fan of the color palette, and just, yeah, it was just a bit of a fail with the watercolors as well. Ranking from 7 to 4 kind of all sit in the same vein. I like them all the same amount. So number 7 I had as the milk bottle page from Adorable Town. Number 6 was my only page this month in Meine, Reise, durch, Asien. See, this is why I don't try to say it. Rita Berman's Asia book. Number 5 was my first page in How to Draw Inky Wonderlands. Then for number 4 is my little vignette page that I did in Small Victories. Number 3 was the tea house inside the cuckoo clock. Number 2 was the potions page from Rooms of Wonder. And surprisingly, my favorite page from this month is the little castles page that I did in Small Victories. The one that I went into not expecting to have an amazing result, and now it's my favorite that I colored in June. But yeah, tell me what your favorite page of mine was this month. I always find this so fascinating because a lot of people's pages that are their favorites that they colored, I preferred like one of their other pages more. It's just, coloring is so subjective and I love that. I love how we all have our own opinions and our favorite ways to color. I also think we're always the hardest on ourselves as well. So even though that flower page was my least favorite this month, I'm sure a lot of you out there will still like it. If you also haven't checked out my July coloring plans video where I picked coloring prompts out of a jar, make sure you check that one out. It'll give you an idea of what kind of pages to expect from me next month in my July completed pages video. Happy coloring, my friends. Have a good day, have a good life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.